The Porsche Carrera Cup Esports Great Britain Championship is getting towards the business end of the season. Welcome everybody to Knockhill, where we are in prospect ready for two more cracking races in what has been a really competitive championship this season. Sebastian Job comes here yet again as the man to beat, but around here with 26 cars on track, it is going to be very physical, very busy indeed. David Addison and Paul Smith looking forward to what promise, as I say, Paul, to be two very good races, and we're back on kind of home soil after the trip to Bathurst that really did produce two very lively races indeed last time out.
Yeah, they certainly did. You missed a treat last time out, David. But yeah, we're north of the border. I didn't think we could get much more northern in this broadcast, but apparently we can. Well, it's Knockhill, it's tight, it's twisty, but you can make overtakes around here as well. So it should provide us plenty of action.
Absolutely right. Now, while Sebastian Job has been racking up the wins in Pro, in AM, it's rather been about Luke Pennington, but in Australia, at Bathurst last time, a double win went elsewhere. So he still is the man to beat, but didn't have the best points haul earlier on in the month.
Yeah, Scott Moakes getting a double race win. You know, the only challenger really, I would say, seriously, in that championship, and he had a good round last time out. Luke Pennington, he qualified well, had an accident on lap one of the first race, and had to sort of work his way through and try and just salvage whatever points he could. He did just that, but my goodness, he's got one hand on the trophy, in my opinion, if he keeps it up.
Well, qualifying is going to be getting underway imminently. Only 10 minutes, remember, before we turn our attention to the first 25-minute race. Quick break, and then race two. There are points on offer, as ever, for pole position in each class, and the greater weighting of point comes in race one, because it's from that natural grid, if you like. As far as the championship is concerned, Sebastian Job is 12 points clear in the Pro Championship from Luke McEwen. He in turn is 24 up on Peter Berryman, who is only one ahead of Graham Carroll, who is on home soil here. The Scottish driver Josh Thompson, who is absent today because he's moving house fifth, and William Chadwick sixth in Pro, ahead of Luke Bennett, Alex Davidson, Matt Emery and Leo Gariboli. As far as the AM Championship is concerned, Luke Pennington is the man in charge there, but Scott Moakes is not that far back. 24 points, 6 races to go. It's an outsider, but it's a possibility. It is doable, just depending on the luck or otherwise that Luke Pennington has. Dan Martin third from Dylan Platt, Crofton Woodhatch and Oliver Ettridge to round out the top 6. So we go from a track with lots of undulation and not much width and unforgiving barriers to a track that's not that wide, has lots of elevation and unforgiving barriers. Welcome to Knockhill for races 11 and 12. Donington and Brands Hatch to come after this. So we're getting now, Paul, towards the business end of the season. People really need to bank some points here, or if they're struggling, score big.
Yeah, this is where now, if you've not been having the best of season so far and you're trying to have any aspirations of getting into the top 3 of either championship, then you need to get some big results now and carry that form through to the end of the championship. So the pressure is on these drivers as they come on. But someone like Sebastian Job or Luke McEwen, I think those two, they're just trying to outscore each other right now. That's all that they care about, really, in all of this season now.
Now, the one thing that Sebastian Job has proved over the course of the year is how savvy he is. He knows when to hold and when to fold, doesn't he? He knows that if he's in a good place to score points, he'll bank them. If he's in a good place for a win, he'll go for the win. But we've not really seen him do anything silly. We've not talked about him being off the road much or making mistakes under pressure. He has been sponge-like, able to soak that up and just play that points percentage game.
He certainly has, and you can see how busy it is out there for qualifying as the drivers preparing the cars, the tyres, and trying to burn off some fuel before they push on towards the end of qualifying. But yeah, it's knowing when to play the cards that are dealt to you. And Sebastian he's really matured over the years. I was looking back, and it was 9 years ago that I raced against a 15-year-old Sebastian Job. He was quick then, and he's even quicker now. He just keeps on getting better and better, and he's not even reached the pinnacle of his race development yet. I think he's got a lot more to come here.
You notice Paul's very careful wording there. He wasn't for a moment suggesting he was 15 at the time, but Sebastian Job was. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he has come on hugely. He is still developing, still improving as a driver, and remains, as we've said over the course of the year, the benchmark for Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing. Now, Sebastian Job comes up towards the timing line. 10 minutes only this qualifying session, so we rattle through it, and we'll see in a moment whether anybody's able to go better than Peter Berryman, who himself has been a double winner this year, although Pete Berryman tends to do this by winning the reverse grid races. He's not the best qualifier, but he's done well on that reversal of the top 6. Yeah,
I think Pete, he's one that will criticise himself for how his qualifying has been going. I mean, he's coming off of the race winning race 2 last time out, and as you say, he won the second race of the season right at the back of the start of the season. So he is somebody who can get those wins. He's the man who pushed and challenged Sebastian Job for the title a couple of years ago as well, so he knows what it takes to be involved in the championship fight. It's just not been working out for him in that Apex Racing Team car.
I was about to say Luke Bennett goes top. He did briefly, but Sebastian Job now is fastest. You can see how crowded it is. There are only, in quotes, 26 cars on track, but Knockhill being just over a mile and a bit long, it means that finding clear track space is very difficult indeed, and Sebastian Job lets the traffic go, finds a clear run, so if he does need to have a second push, he can do so. Now, Pete Berryman, meantime, has got lots of clear track space. He's busy trying to work the tyres and get warmth into them, but the danger is that as he starts to quicken the pace, again, he's in strife in traffic if he's not careful, and a car off the road in the background there.
Yeah, I think that was Daniel Martin. It's coming up on my my track map that I have with a yellow flag. So yeah, Dan Martin not having a good qualifying, and hopefully he can get back out there and get some laps in.
Now, Sebastian Job the fastest then by just over a tenth of a second from Luke Bennett and Matt Emery, who is having a sort of nosebleed qualifying session. He's not normally that far up. He's going really well. William Chadwick is 4th and Scott Mokes 5th, coming here on the back of that double win last time out in Am. So Scott Mokes ahead of Dan Martin, ahead of Adam Cox. Now, where in all of this is Luke Pennington? He's 16th overall. He's dropped a little bit further. Graham Carroll now 16th. The point being, Luke Pennington has got to dig deep and find a lap, hasn't he?
Yeah, we're only just halfway through the qualifying as well, so time is running out for these drivers to get a lap time in, as Pete Berryman goes across the timing line and goes second, so still just a tenth behind. Graham Carroll 3rd as well, and Luke McEwen, what a lap from him!
Absolutely, goes quickest by over a tenth of a second from Sebastian Job. And Job was on a slow start to the lap. Yeah, you're right, 4.5 minutes on the clock, so we've gone past the halfway mark. The good thing, though, about Knockhill, given its length, is that you can get more laps into that 4.5 minutes than you could, say, at Bathurst or anywhere else, really, because it's such a short lap. Finding a clear bit of road is vital. You saw Pete Berryman try to do just that. It has worked for him, so he's up to 3rd, but is he going to be able to go better again? I rather fear not on this lap.
No, I think this is, again, a preparation, perhaps. Yeah, preparation lap here. And that timing line's right at the end of the pit wall, and he's going for another prep lap, so he's not happy with how his car's feeling. He's wanting just another lap just to get things back to where he wants them to be. Tyre temperature is crucial in this simulator and iRacing. If you overheat your tyres, like doing slides out of the hairpin like Luke Bennett did, then you can make things more difficult for yourself.
Luke Bennett goes through, down to 6th in the times now, and that's where he stays. Luke Pennington's up to 4th, 2 points for pole in class then if he stays there. So Luke Pennington, who was languishing a little earlier on, now with 3 minutes and change on the clock, comes good and not only takes class pole position, but he puts himself 4th overall. That's a mega effort.
That is incredible, and it just goes to show what a level he has attained this year compared to last. He wasn't quite able to challenge for the AM Championship last year, but this year he's really been on another level. Now, this is a driver that we need to pay attention to. Luke McEwen is going to be starting a lap here. Let's see how he goes in about 46 seconds' time.
So he's currently 2nd on a 47.001. Drops down then now out of McIntyre's towards Butcher's. And then up towards the chicane. Launches himself over the curb and over the floppy markers. And there's a car off up the road ahead, but he avoids that. There's another one on a slow lap, avoids that. So Luke McEwen is going nicely. He was good in the first sector. Is it going to be good enough? He's got to find really just about a tenth of a second. He's 96 thousandths back from Sebastian Job.
You're getting a lot of distractions there on that lap, aren't you? With cars going off, slow cars as well. Very easy to make a mistake. But Luke, what can he do? Here's the timing line. And can he improve? Yes, he can improve. And it doesn't quite put him to pole, though.
No, 37 thousandths back. So close but no cigar for Luke McEwen as the clock ticks on down then. So 37 thousandths between the top two. Now, we have Graham Carroll looking good in the first sector of the lap as well. He is currently fourth. William Chadwick, he's up to third. So the order looking, again, a little bit jumbled, isn't it?
It certainly is. And a lot of these drivers have got to remember they'll be wanting to time themselves to hit the start of their last lap before about 48 seconds remaining, because once that clock strikes zero, that's your end of your qualifying here in this session. So no overrun, no chance to finish your lap. You've got to start your lap with about 48 seconds to go.
Now, Sebastian Job was also looking good at the start of this lap, but my fear is that he might find some traffic around him, which will compromise the lap come the end. Graham Carroll comes up to the line, very busy around him. He will squeeze one more lap out of the session. He goes through. Paul has made the point, the timing line is coming up the hill out of the hairpin. Of course, the start line is right at the top of the hill. Knockhill, like many venues, has the start and finish lines in different places. Graham Carroll then fourth. Best lap 47.050. The last lap that he did was a slow one, 54.9, given all the traffic around him. So this is the last chance saloon for him.
Sebastian Job's gone to the pit, so he's done for qualifying. He's just going to sit by and watch to see if anybody improves and gets ahead of him. So far, I'm not really seeing that at the moment, but Graham Carroll, this is a good chance for the Scotsman.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because there's not too much to get in the way. Let's see. Comes up towards the line. He's got to be aiming at something like a 46.9, and he does a 47.0. So stays fourth as Leo Gariboli now goes up to fifth. Good effort by him. And that pushes Luke Pennington down to seventh. Graham Carroll has done. Checkered flag is imminent. Everybody really has done their best. So it is Sebastian Job on pole position once again. Great effort, but 37 thousandths. Yeah, I know it's a short lap, but that does suggest this is going to be a very competitive race one, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be an absolute thrill ride to watch. And I think Luke McEwen now, we've seen him be patient and just not be able to make the moves. I think he needs to start making some moves to help him in the championship.
So, Sebastian Job will start race one from pole position, the 11th race within the championship, ahead of Luke McEwen. The second row, William Chadwick, lining up alongside Graham Carroll. Leo Gariboli next, and Peter Berryman will be sixth. Seventh is Luke Pennington, the AM pole position driver, ahead of Luke Bennett. Eric Grove going nicely, ninth, ahead of Thomas Cope. He rounds out the top 10 ahead of Matt Emery, and then Jacob Toft in the Duckham's livery for 12th. Crofton Woodhatch back to pace. He is 13th. Scott Mopes only 14th, having gone well at the start of the session, but ultimately fading a little bit. Jack Sedgwick and Dan Martin next, ahead of Gareth Higgins, and then James Parker, new this weekend. Returning this weekend, having come into the championship midway through the year. Dan Sedgley, Adam Holloway are ahead in turn of Oliver Ettridge, and then Adam Cox, Dylan Platt and Nathan Tague round out the top 24, and that means at the back row is Daniel Cofield and Jamie Moon. For why Jamie Moon is 26th, discussed, because he's out of pro and has been pretty competitive on occasions this year. Jamie, who we've seen more than once running up near the front. He's not done the whole season, but we've had him in the top 10 on more than one occasion. So for him to be flat last, bit of a surprise that.
Yeah, and he didn't get a competitive lap in either. So obviously things like, you know, track limits infractions, they can get you an invalidated lap time. I know that's your favourite subject, David, is track limits. But also, you know, just not having a clean run, that can affect things. But we're a couple of seconds away. We're about to get the race started.
We are indeed. Everybody grids up then. So Sebastian Job on pole position. Luke McEwen with him. 25 minutes then, this first of the two races here at Knockhill. And we are about then in dry conditions to get racing underway. It is go. It is a good start by Job. It is not the best of starts by Luke McEwen. And he's got to slot in behind as they head towards Duffer's Dip for the first time. Good getaway also by William Chadwick. He hangs on to that third place. And Graham Carroll has dropped to fifth. Look has challenged for the lead in a big dive. Luke McEwen goes through, goes off, and takes Job with him.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that'll be discussed in the steward's office later on this evening, that's for sure. Lap 1, Job is known for being really good on the cold tyres. Oliver Etheridge bouncing off of somebody there through the chicane. But Job is notorious for being good on the cold tyres, and I think Luke realised he needed to make a move very early.
But the bite a bit, because he has dropped down as well, so he's not going to be massively scoring in this race, even if he is ahead of Job. And so at the end of lap 1, it is going to be William Chadwick ahead of Graham Carroll. So Carroll had dropped back off the grid, but finds himself through circumstance at the end of lap 1 being up into 2nd place. Sebastian Job comes across the line way back in 10th place. Luke McEwen 8th, still ahead of him therefore.
Yeah, and as I say, I think the stewards will definitely have a look at that one. Is it just a basic mistake of just locking up into that right-hander? It's going to be one talked about for a while, but Job, does his car seem to be okay? He seems to be running fine. Doesn't look to be too much damage on the outside from what we can see, but he's under a bit of pressure right now, Sebastian, from Eric Grove.
I don't think it was the heaviest of hits, but certainly the big delay was going through the gravel and losing all of that momentum. Sebastian Job has dug his way out of that, and he fights on. But yes, inevitably, the officials are going to have a look at it. There's more fun and games coming out of the hairpin. But William Chadwick it is who leads. Grant Carroll is 2nd. Leo Gariboli is up to 3rd. Berryman 4th. Bennett 5th. Coates 6th. 7th is Pennington to lead Am. 8th is McEwen. 9th, Matt Emery. 10th is Sebastian Job. So provisionally, McEwen is outscoring Job. I say provisionally because this might well rumble on.
Luke Bennett's just lost 2 places in all that. So Thomas Cope and Luke Pennington running through. And Sebastian Job and Luke McEwen are swapping places on screen right now. They're side by side. Now, is Luke trying to give a position back, or is Luke Bennett playing a team game and holding up as Will Chadwick has gone off at the hairpin? There he is!
Got straight on, so the race leader is in the gravel. Nobody wants to win this race. Graham Carroll now finds himself up front. So it's Carroll from Gariboli having his best run of the year. Berryman is up to 3rd. Tom Cope now 4th, his best showing of the season. Pennington is 5th and Sebastian Job 6th, and that puts him ahead now of Bennett and McEwen, who drops back to 8th. So bad news, all of this for Luke McEwen. He does fight back on the inside, goes ahead of Bennett once again, but he's oh so late on the brakes. And if you're on the outside, you're in strife because Luke McEwen is coming through whether you're there or not.
And Bennett's dropped down the order, so I think there's been contact between the two of them as well. I think Luke McEwen has got it in his head, and I was absolutely right beforehand. He needs to make some moves and needs to move forward ahead of Sebastian to try and challenge him for this title, with it being on the 12 points between the two of them. But you can't get yourself involved in any incidents that can get you... That's
Will Chadwick in replay, isn't it? Having made his mistake, and then he went off the road completely. So he got it sideways, then tried to rejoin, and then
broken.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm not quite sure what would have triggered that, unless it was a curb strike, because there was nobody around him when he had that first slide. Meanwhile, we've got Carroll from Berryman now as there, 96. Luke McEwen losing ground a little bit. Sebastian Job, having got ahead of him, is getting away. So I think there's more to it than McEwen trying to give back a place. That car doesn't seem to have the pace, whereas Sebastian Job's car does. And add into that, Sebastian Job is all fired up. He's not amused about being forced off the road. So you've got somebody there with massive commitment on a huge charge. The red mist hasn't descended because he's not making mistakes, but Sebastian Job is all fired up for this, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a man with motivation right now, is Sebastian Job. And do you know what? Right now, if I'm Sebastian, I'm outscoring my nearest rival in the championship. Pete Berryman and Graham Carroll are not anywhere near to challenge me in the championship. I sit in 6th place and get pole position for the reverse grid race. That's what I'd do right now.
And I suspect Sebastian Job's target, having gone off the road, was how can I rebuild my weekend? I've got to reverse engineer it. So think towards race 2. What do I do for that? I've got to get 6th. Where am I? Outside the top 10. Push, push, push on cold tyres. Everyone's in a gaggle. Here I come. And yes, you're right. Mission accomplished. That said, he's now up to 5th. Though he will still be on the front row, even if it's not pole position, with Luke Pennington, provisional 6th place finisher and therefore pole getter for race 2. But it's points for Job, and it puts him at the front of the grid for race 2. Mission accomplished.
I think that might be a little bit Luke Pennington also saying, do you know what, Sebastian, I'm not your fight right now. You go by, and I'll sit in 6th place right now to get pole position for race 2. For an AM driver, that would be a heck of a place to finish, especially when your nearest rival, Scott Merckx, is in 11th, 3rd in class behind Croft and Woodhatch.
I have to say, I would love to see what Sebastian Job could do in Carrera Cup GB in the real world, in the physical item. Because I know it's different from driving on a sim, but he has just looked so impressive. It will be fascinating to see how the ability he's got, and we've talked about it all season, would translate to on-track racing. Graham Carroll has come from real-world racing into esports and has had 1 race victory this year. He leads at the moment by only 0.7 of a second. Peter Berryman is, to use that hackneyed phrase, keeping him honest as you look at Job here heading up towards the chicane. Well airborne as he launches his way through, and his next target is Tom Cope, having one of his better showings of the year.
Yeah, Thomas Cope, I mean, I'm looking at my my standings here. He's only ever scored points twice this season, so he's on for his best result ever so far this season as Thomas, and it's been a difficult season for him in that Olympus Esports outfit in the very colourful car. You can't miss that one, by the way, with all the yellow, blue, pink. I think every colour under the rainbow is on that car.
Yeah, he missed the Bathurst races. He's not yet had a top 6 finish, and here he is in 4th. And Leo Gariboli is another one, like I say, getting a nosebleed. His best is a 5th, and he's running in the top 3. As you ride on board with Tom Cope, he's a little bit far back from Gariboli right now, but having said that, Gariboli is off the road, and he's ahead of him all of a sudden, and so is Job. So there's a mistake. Gariboli throws it away.
And before the broadcast, we were talking about that chicane, weren't we? And I said, you get that line wrong through there, and it'll just fire you off into the gravel trap. And that's exactly what has happened to Leo Gariboli there.
It is so easy. You've seen people do it at the front of a grid, the back of a grid. It's a blind chicane. You're turning as you come uphill, and if you get the curb in the wrong place or hit it at the wrong angle, then it just fires you out wide through the gravel, and that is what befell Leo Gariboli. So he drops to 5th, therefore to equal his best result. So having talked him up, he's had a drama, falls back in the pack. Well, considering that Sebastian Job was very nearly in Dundee, so wide was he on the first corner, he's fought back remarkably well. The podium beckons, doesn't it? Because look, he is absolutely reeling in Tom Cope, and he's going to be ahead of him, I reckon, by the time they get to the hairpin.
Cope made a mistake. And then he's realised, yeah, Sebastian, again, I'm on for my best result of the season. Yeah, I'm not going to fight you too hard, Sebastian, especially when Sebastian's motivated, as we said, from that instant on lap 1.
So over the timing line, Graham Carroll, lest we forget, still leads the way, but the gap's come down. 0.7 becomes 0.3, but now Graham Carroll to Sebastian Job, 3.7 seconds. And Sebastian Job last time lapped faster, even allowing for the fact that he had to overtake people. Here is the lead battle. If these two get together as they are doing and start squabbling, still with 16.5 minutes on the clock, Sebastian Job's got a chance of winning this race because he's lapping quicker and he can catch these two.
My question, though, is how much life is Sebastian taking out the tyres? Because that is something that the drivers have mentioned, is about the tyres, not so much the wear, but how much heat and load goes through them. There's a lot of corners here that you're putting load, you are putting some load onto the car with the undulations as well, and with the bumps. The track temperature, I want to touch on this, 38 degrees Celsius. I don't think it's ever been that up here in at Knockhill. These drivers will be feeling the effects of that towards the end of the race.
I think the only time Knockhill and 38 degrees have been used in the same sentence is also with the word minus. But right now, as you say, it is a glorious hot day, and that's going to have an effect on tyres. Race leaders make their way down towards the hairpin. You're looking at Peter Berryman hard at work. He in turn is staring at the back of Graham Carroll. Now Graham Carroll knows what he's doing around here. Home circuit. He knows all the lines. He knows how to defend. Intriguingly though, he does not have the pace to get away, does he?
No, not at the moment. And he's given a nice slipstream. You don't get much of a slipstream effect around here. There's not too long a straight, but that back straight towards the hairpin at the end of the lap and the start and finish straight. But really, Pete Berryman just seems to be in a zone right now. I think he knows that he's got a fast Sebastian Job closing up behind. he doesn't want to take the fight to Graham too early. I think it'd be silly of him to start squabbling now and just invite Sebastian to close right up to the back of them.
Yeah, ideally, he wants to be ahead and get away and then sort of stack Graham Carroll up into Sebastian Job and let those two squabble. But equally, if he goes too hard too soon, tyre life comes into it. That said, he also needs to work out when the ideal moment to strike is, because if Graham Carroll is a harder nut to crack than he wants, he's going to lose lap after lap being stuck behind him, and then Job will catch up. So he needs now to try and work out where he is stronger, where he can make that move, doesn't he?
And let's also not forget, there's only 1 point between these two in the championship for third place. And the prizes go down to third place here. So, you know, Pete Berryman is hanging on to that at the moment, but Graham wants that third place as well. So this is about championship standings between the two of them, as well as getting a race win.
You've got a great battle then for the outright lead, and it's for Pro, and the gap is not a great one in Am. Luke Pennington ahead of Crofton Woodhatch, who's really hustling on, and he's trying to catch up. Graham Carroll leading Pete Berryman then. Sebastian Job third. This is Berryman's view as he goes for the lead again. Cope fourth, Gary Bowley fifth, Matt Emery sixth, through Duffer's Dip once more.
What on earth has happened to Luke Pennington? Because he was up there in the top 5, top 6, and he just seems to have dropped back and dropped down the order here, and he's certainly feeling the pressure from Crofton Woodhatch. And I bet Scott Merckx is looking ahead now going, oh, come on, I just need to get past you, Crofton, and then I can fight with my championship rival. McEwen and Garrett Burley switching places as well. So Luke's into that 6th place as things stand right now. So he's in that pound seat of being in pole position then as Luke.
Yeah, McEwen's another one with a slightly quirky race, because we saw him hemorrhaging places earlier on, but he has kind of regrouped, hasn't he now? Maybe he picked up a little bit of damage in that clash with Sebastian Job, but he's had to drive around that. Now that he's got a handle on the car, he is able to make progress. The leaders go through. Carroll versus Berryman, 'twas ever thus. As Pete Berryman comes up to have a go on the outside of Graham Carroll. No way through there. 12.5 minutes remain. Becoming increasingly energetic now, isn't it, the Berryman chase?
Yeah, I think that all starts at the chicane. If Pete Berryman gets a better run out the chicane, Graham Carroll goes defensive into the next right-hander, and that then sets you up for the run down the back straight towards the hairpin, and it gives you that opportunity to make an overtake. It's a favourite of touring car drivers, that's for sure, whenever they come here. I know Ash Sutton likes to get that great run through the chicane and just catch people out by surprise.
That's why for some categories they put a big marker tyre on that final part of the chicane to stop you corner cutting. One of the most favourite place of all photographers to go and stand there, because you get the cars either airborne or at worst on 2 wheels. Luke McEwen up to 5th then, just gained another place. He's still pushing on, pushing forward. 11.5 minutes on the clock as Berryman comes down to the hairpin. Well, Graham Carroll proving he can't get away, but he can defend.
And he knows exactly where to defend as well. There's no point defending fresh air at corners where there's not really an overtaking opportunity on hand. It's knowing where and when to place your car. Parking the car on the apex of the hairpin as well, just to slow them down so that you then get the launch off the hairpin up the hill, because it's a steep hill, is that, up towards the finish line. As further down, Luke Bennett is trying his recovery drive and getting past Jacob Tofts,
who drops 1 spot, might drop another couple. Eric Grove, Gareth Higgins, all in that battle pack. 11 minutes on the clock then as they launch their way through the chicane. Yeah, Luke Bennett then in 11th place, and then he goes wide, and Jacob Toft gets ahead of him, and Grove goes through, and Higgins goes through. So 1 up, 3 back.
And it's that chicane again. It's that chicane again. It catches you out. You think that you've got it lined up and got it perfect. You're thinking, right, I finally got past those 3 drivers, and then you go and put it in the kitty litter. He will feel just so silly for doing that mistake.
Graham Carroll, though, is doing a really good job of soaking up this pressure, isn't he? Because Peter Berryman does not go away. Graham Carroll can't escape. Yes, they run a little bit wide on the curb there, but not to their detriment. Sebastian Job behind them, though, is coming back at them. It is now 2.1 seconds, second to third. So that gap coming down and down and down.
And you look at that last lap time comparison as well between Pete Berryman and Sebastian Job, you're talking half a second difference between them. We've still got about 12 laps remaining in this race as well, haven't we? Because they're doing 48-second laps, so there's plenty of opportunity for Sebastian to make some moves.
Jacob Toft making a move on the inside line at the hairpin. Goes through on the inside line there, trying to recover lost ground. Comes up towards the line, goes through into the last 10 minutes of the race now. Jacob Toft, whose father we've seen racing in the Sprint Challenge for the Caymans in the real world. Ex-Formula Ford racer. Jacob turning his hands now to Porsche racing as well. But Graham Carroll continues to hold sway up front as this midfield squabble leaps through the chicane. Jacob Toft then goes through in the Duckham's Oil back car. He is out of the pro category. In AM, it's still Pennington ahead of Woodhatch, and actually, that gap's not really come down by much. It's still hovering around the 2-second mark, isn't it?
Yeah, Pennington, I think, has stemmed the bleeding a little bit and just got that time back again to a comfortable margin. And yeah, Crofton Woodhatch, I think he is more concerned about the driver behind than the one in front right now. You still wouldn't want to turn down a race win, and Graham Carroll has built a little bit of a lead over Peter Berryman here.
All of a sudden, it's finally happened, hasn't it? Because for, what have we had now, 20 laps, they've been nose to tail, and all of a sudden, the margin comes out. Now, was that Berryman making a mistake rather than Graham Carroll upping the pace, maybe? Let's see. Heading towards the line. Sebastian Job still there in third place. Not yet with them, though.
Carroll was much quicker on the last lap. Let's look across the line. Berryman's then caught that up. So it was the lap prior that Berryman must have made a slight mistake, lost that time, and now he's got it all to do again. And the problem is that he's got Sebastian just getting a little bit bigger in his mirrors. That was a big wiggle over the chicane from Peter Berryman. My goodness, that would have been, I think, a change of underpants needed after that one.
Save of the day, wasn't it, from Pete Berryman then? And that means that Sebastian Job knows that the guy ahead of him can make errors, and Job not only has been able to buy back a big chunk of time as a legacy of that, but it gives him renewed optimism to keep on pushing. So Sebastian Job third at the moment, but with 7 minutes and change on the clock, second place is a real possibility, and Graham Carroll now has to try to get away before Berryman recovers and fights back. I think Berryman's going to end up defending here rather than catching.
You wouldn't be able to tell that Pete Berryman's just had a huge moment, would you? Absolutely no emotion, just focused on the job, and that's how you need to be in this level of racing. You just need to take complete emotion out of it and just focus on what you need to do to be quick. But yeah, I think the race win now, it'll take a mistake from Graham Carroll and Peter Berryman to have a chance. But Sebastian Job, after being in the kitty litter at turn 3, is suddenly seeing an opportunity of the second step of the podium now.
Yeah, we've lost Jack Sedgwick from the race, sadly, earlier on. William Chadwick as well. We saw him in strife right at the beginning, so 2 retirements from proceedings. Race leaders with 6 minutes on the clock. Carroll now ahead by over a second from the charging Peter Berryman behind him. Sebastian Job still third, and a very busy battle again with Jacob Toft in the middle of it. Yeah,
Toft was given a hip check, and Luke Bennett again ended up in that gravel trap once again. Seems to be a favourite place for him to go playing in right now, and he's making hard work of it here today, is Luke, and I think it will all stem. He'll think it will all stem back to that collision that he had with Luke McEwen.
So Sebastian Job to try to catch Peter Berryman then. He is about 0.7 of a second back, so I still think second place is doable before the end. Luke Pennington, Crofton Woodhatch, Scott Mokes remain the top 3 within the AM class as they come over the line once again. But Graham Carroll possibly here on target for a second victory of the season. The other one being at Alton Park, which came in the equivalent race in race 1. Luke Bennett going through. He's in 14th place at the moment. with Dan Sedgley doing the chasing, and a big moment there, because over the curb and through the gravel goes Luke Bennett, off the road and loses places as a result, and I think he's going to bail.
Yep, he's parking that car. He said, you know what, for this race, I'm done. That has not worked out for him at all, and yeah, certainly it's been a testing day for him, and he would have been upset early on, and it's just then continued all the way through it. But this race for the lead, my goodness, completely airborne, all three of them through the chicane.
I'm starting to wonder whether any of these top three drivers are going to complain about their entry fee, because they've not actually been on the Knockhill track for very long. They've been in the air for more of it, seemingly through the chicane at least. So you pay an entry fee to go motor racing, certainly in the wheel world, and yet the cars are airborne rather than using the tarmac. Sebastian Job is nearly with Berryman, but look, Pete Berryman has caught back up to Graham Carroll, so it's going to be 3 for the lead, I think, by the end of this lap, and we've only got 4 minutes on the clock now.
0.3. Pete Berryman was quicker than Graham Carroll on that last lap. Sebastian Job was actually 0.2 slower than Pete Berryman. Well, 10.5, call it. So yeah, so Pete Berryman is on a charge now, and you can see that he's just absolutely focused, and he's got sights set on a race win here.
But can he do it? Because Graham Carroll has been good at defending thus far. So here they come, nose to tail, down towards the hairpin. It's looking very sort of Spa 24 hours, isn't it? Through the gloom there, through the darkness, headlights ablaze, piercing the darkness out of the hairpin. And up towards the line.
It's one heck of a cloud that's just come off the track here. Is that one? It's almost night time.
I was just pondering your 38 degrees. Not anymore, it won't be. Not with that coming over the circuit. Now, Job's dropped back, hasn't he? Look, Berryman is right on the back of Graham Carroll, and Sebastian Job has fallen away. Is that him with a problem? Is that Sebastian Job thinking, do you know what? I'm just going to bank points for third place here. I don't want to get involved in any silliness.
I think that would be sensible of him. I think he's in a very good position. You look at Luke McEwen's in 5th place. He's nowhere near Sebastian. He's 3.5 seconds back from Sebastian. So your nearest championship contender, they didn't get the bonus points for pole position because that was Sebastian getting that. But certainly a great opportunity for Sebastian to get some big points change over his championship rival Luke McEwen.
2.5 minutes to go. Graham Carroll still having to defend for all he is worth. Peter Berryman has not given up, has he? We've talked about Peter winning twice this year, just like Graham Carroll's victory and potential second have been in the opening race of the weekend. Berryman's done his winning in the reverse grid races and would dearly love to do one on merit, if you like, from the conventional grid. Graham Carroll started 4th. Peter Berryman started 6th on the grid for this race. They've both made really good progress, and we're not done yet as they come through the traffic down to the hairpin once more.
That was Will Chadwick back out, so I wonder if he's fixed whatever problem he's having and just basically using this, the end of the race, as a bit of a test session to make sure that everything's working here. But now Pete Berryman, I think, is in that same position that he was earlier on in the race now. He's caught up to Graham, but now it's getting past Graham, and the wily Scott, he knows every trick in the book.
He does round here, that's for sure. And there's going to be time for one more lap at the end of this as well. Sebastian Job still there in 3rd place. Tom Cope looking for his best finish of the season in 4th. And Luke Pennington looking for yet another victory within the AM category, just to continue this remarkable season that he has enjoyed.
Certainly is, but look at this. Yeah, Graham Carroll seems to get the better run out of Clark on towards the straight here and into the hairpin, and it just means that Pete Berryman's not able to make the move into Taylor's at the end of the lap. And I think we might actually get 2 more laps here, so they've crossed the line with a minute to go, so yeah, 2 more laps here, David.
So that gives Graham Carroll, if you like, twice the number of laps he's got to try and defend for. It gives Peter Berryman double the number of opportunities, and they are absolutely together, look, as they come through the chicane. This is where we've seen Peter Berryman have a big moment in the past, but he's okay this lap through. Sebastian Job is there behind, hunting them down still. Job hasn't given up, even though just banking points and winning a championship is the main focus. Carroll and Berryman aren't really in the championship battle, not for the overall title. They want to finish as well as they possibly can. And of course, there's also this great on-track battle as Berryman nearly tickles the tail of Carroll's car coming into the hairpin there.
The previous lap, there were a thousandth of a second difference between the two of them, lap time-wise. They come across the line again, and again, it's 400ths of a second difference between the two of them. There's absolutely nothing between Graham Carroll and Peter Berryman as they're on the last lap now.
So lap 32 we are on, and the race leaders come up towards the chicane. Graham Carroll bouncing over the curb, but he gets away with it. Berryman likewise. Job still there in third place. Graham Carroll comes now up through the right-hander of Clark Curve, heading down towards the hairpin, and Peter Berryman looking a bit resigned here. He's tried everything, but he's not been able really to mount a proper attack. And again, that gap has stretched on the last lap, hasn't it? Down towards the hairpin for the last time. The gap comes down a bit under braking. It'll stretch again on the run up towards the flag, and it is going to be a second win of the season in the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup GB for Graham Carroll. He wins at Knockhill. Peter Berryman takes second, and Sebastian Job comes home in third. Tom Cope is going to be fourth ahead of Luke McEwen, Matt Emery sixth, Leo Garibaldi seventh, and eighth to win in yet again a seventh win of the year for Luke Pennington. He in turn is ahead of Crofton Woodhatch and then Scott Mokes. So Luke Pennington now entered by Team 75 Bernhardt by Sim RC. Really good drive. Yet again, banking the points, knowing who to fight against, and taking a magnificent seventh win of the year. Good effort, that.
Yeah, tremendous from Luke, and did everything right out there, didn't put a foot wrong, gets himself that AM win, and he'll be impressing his new team. I wondered how long it would be before somebody picked him up to get him a race seat, but certainly that was an interesting, if not action-packed, first race of the day. Absolutely right.
So great result for race winner Graham Carroll, and Peter Berryman shadowing him all the way through. It was Sebastian Job then in third place from Tom Cope, and Luke McEwen in fifth. He also got the fastest lap, Luke McEwen, 47.339, staying ahead of Matt Emery and Leo Garibaldi, ultimately seventh after his trip through the gravel. Luke Pennington eighth ahead of Crofton Woodhatch and Scott Mokes. Back your top three provisionally within the AM category. Behind them, 11th, Eric Grove, ahead of Gareth Higgins and Jacob Toft, who had a bit of a yo-yo race. Dan Sedgley was in that battle. And then more of the AMs, Dan Cofield keeping James Parker and Nathan Tague at bay. Adam Cox, 18th from Oliver Ettridge. And then Adam Holloway in 20th. 21st, Luke Bennett, who I think we did lose from the race. Also, we lost Dan Martin, Dylan Platt, Jamie Moon, Will Chadwick came in and out, and we also said goodbye to Jack Sedgwick very early on as well. So by the championship standards, quite a high mortality rate, really. A lot of people in strife, and ultimately deciding to bail out of that to prepare themselves for race two. But a really impressive drive, again, by Graham Carroll. I know it's his notional home circuit, Knockhill, Paul, but, you know, to withstand all that pressure when other people were making mistakes, as we saw, that was a really good drive.
Yeah, and as I said, he wasn't defending fresh air. He was putting the car where it needed to be at the right places at the right time, and it showed through that race, and it showed. And Pete Berryman, right at the end there on the last lap, just that look of resignation of, I haven't been able to get one over Graham. And yeah, great drive from Graham, in my opinion.
Now, what about Sebastian Job? Yes, okay, he was on pole position and only finishes third, but that was quite a recovery given how many cars came past at, what, turn 3?
Yeah, down at McIntyre's. It was lap 1, what was it, down to 11th place for him on lap 1, and it's just, well, it's a Sebastian Job drive, just seems to just drive past everyone. He seems to be in a different class right now, but up to third place, and I think we saw towards the end there, it was a level of tyre wear, and he just had to push that bit more, so he wasn't able to challenge for the win in the end.
Third place finish, second row of the grid in the next race, the second race here at Knockhill for Sebastian Job. He can still win it from there, assuming he makes a good start, because we know how good he is on lap 1 on that cold tyre.
And starting on the front row in front of him is going to be Luke McEwen, the man who made the move that McIntyre's on lap 1 and forced them both wide. So yeah, it's he's not a vindictive person, is Sebastian, and that won't be in his mindset at all. But he'll be wanting to get one over Luke in this race.
That said, he did outscore him in race 1, and of course that's the race with the greater weighting of points in pro. So in that respect as well, mission accomplished. He stayed ahead and has increased the championship lead.
Yeah, and that was the best recovery drive that you could do. Get the points over your championship rival, and then be able to push on and get yourself the best possible points. And yeah, he did it perfectly.
Let's have a quick word and a hat tip, if you would oblige for me, to Tom Cope. Thank you. Because that was his best showing of the year, to take fourth place. And, you know, at the start of the season, I can remember him having a spin at Donington. He was quite a long way down the order. He's missed a couple of races, but he's worked at it. He's chipped away. And he looked the real deal in that race. You know, he was running in exalted company, yes, but that was a good drive. Really the best we've seen all year.
And whilst everyone else was losing their heads, he kept his. That was the important thing. Kept out of trouble and was able to get that great result for Tom. Absolutely brilliant to see.
So this is how they're going to line up for race 2. Matt Emery is on pole position. Luke McEwen with him at the front. Starting third, the aforementioned Thomas Cope, and Sebastian Job is alongside him, ahead of Peter Berryman. And then Graham Carroll starting 6th. 7th, Leo Garibaldi. He's the first of the drivers that misses out on that reverse grid. Luke Pennington will go from 8th, ahead of Crofton Woodhatch, and then Scott Mokes. Next, Eric Grove, and then Gareth Higgins. 13th, Jacob Tofts, ahead of Dan Sedgley. 15th on the grid is Daniel Cofield, ahead of James Parker, Nathan Tague, and Adam Cox, who will start 18th. Oliver Ettridge, 19th on the grid. And then Adam Holloway clear of Luke Bennett. Could be a man to watch in this race, ahead of Dan Martin. Then it's Dylan Platt and Jamie Moon, who's had a pretty horrible day thus far. William Chadwick and Jack Sedgwick. 2 quick drivers on the back row of the grid. They're going to be worth watching as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had it confirmed that Will Chadwick's wheelbase did actually fail. So that was a mechanical failure in his actual sim rig rather than in the car in sim itself. So he's got that fixed. He's starting from the back row of the grid, and we're about to get started for race number 2 of the afternoon.
Which means that after this, there will just be 4 races left in the championship season. And they come then to the grid. Matt Emery for pole position. Luke McEwen with him at the front of the grid. 25 minutes of racing is go once more in the Porsche Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup GP. Down towards Duffers Dip. Good getaway by Matt Emery. He's going to hang on to the lead. But now let's see whether Luke McEwen does another of his demon dives coming down through Butchers. Sebastian Job runs 4th, and drama at the back of the pack.
That's Dan Martin. He's off there. You've also got Dylan Platt involved in all of that, but we do keep green flag racing. Everybody's still running in this one, but right now, Tom Cope is looking behind him at Sebastian Job. There's more drama for Nathan Tague this time.
He rotates, but should be able to rejoin as the cars now come down towards the hairpin for the first time. And it almost looks like a continuation of race 1, doesn't it? Matt Emery's car, same livery as Graham Carroll's, and he heads up towards the line. So it is Emery ahead of McEwen, Cope 3rd, Job 4th as they come over the line. 5th place Berryman, 6th is Graham Carroll. And that's a really intriguing battle pack because Matt Emery has not had a win. Luke McEwen, we know, desperately wants to win and desperately needs points. He's got to stay ahead of Sebastian Job in this race, really, to keep the championship hopes alive.
Yeah, and you pointed it out after this race. There's only 4 races remaining in the championship, so opportunities of scoring points are being slowly eroded away. And Luke McEwen needs a good second race here. He also needs Sebastian to make a mistake in the second race to put him out the points. Meanwhile, Sebastian's making a move on Thomas Cope.
That was a bit brave, wasn't it, coming down towards the hairpin, but he has got through on the inside line. Tom Cope possibly thinking, oh, blimey, it's that Joe bloke, I better let him go. Well, he doesn't think that. He fights back. They're absolutely dead set level coming over the line, but Job has got the inside line for Duffers Dip, and has he got the place? No, yes, but Job through. Cope has a big slide and gets collected. Was that by Graham Carroll?
Yes, it was Graham Carroll, and after such a good opening race, in respect of no egos there, and well, it'd be interesting to see whether there was a little bit of side-to-side contact going into Duffers Dip.
Yeah, my fear is that Tom Cope was on the dirtier line, tried to brave it out on the outside and just lost traction. Sebastian Job then is up into 3rd and has a chance now to get onto the tail of Luke McEwen, who is absolutely stuck behind Matt Emery, leading for the first time this year. Over the line they come. So Emery is ahead, but only just. He's had a 5th as his best finish of the season at Donington as Matt Emery. He leads here, but with still 22.5 minutes to go, this is going to be a really big ask for him to stay there race long, isn't it?
Yes, especially when you've got Luke McEwen, who's looking left and right. Every opportunity to try and make his way past. Emery's had drama with his internet. Meanwhile, Luke McEwen has dramas at the chicane into the gravel trap.
And that means that Sebastian Job is on target, I reckon, for a race win, because if anybody's going to get past Matt Emery, it is going to be the championship leader and a former champion in Carrera Cup GB Esports. Sebastian Job down to the hairpin. And look, he's hit the front virtually with still just under 22 minutes to go. He can now work out when and where to make that move.
There's the replay of what happened to Thomas Cope, and he's doing everything right there. He's holding the brakes. He wants to be trying to be as predictable as possible for the drivers coming through.
Yeah.
And yeah, just unfortunately gets tagged by Graham Carroll.
So Matt Emery leading the way. Sebastian Job now, and we've talked about it so often, and again, another mistake. That's Berryman this time in the background. So Luke McEwen and Graham Carroll both go by. Berryman saved it there in race 1. He doesn't save it in race 2. He's tumbled back into 6th place. I was about to suggest Sebastian Job now needs to decide whether to push for the win or yet again just bank points. But if he applies the pressure to Matt Emery, there's a chance that the win will fall into his lap.
Yeah, it seems to be that everybody seems to want to throw the cars at the scenery right now. Knockhill, it certainly is showing that way in both of these races. And again, plenty of drama for us to talk about, but Sebastian Job seems to be now having things fall into his lap.
Absolutely right. So there going through is the delayed Peter Berryman. He's in 6th place. That means he's also dropped behind Luke Pennington, and he's rather broken up the AM battle, hasn't he? Because you've got Pennington 4, and aft is Crofton Woodhatch. So Crofton needs Berryman to get past Pennington and then give him a clear run at his class rival. 5th and 7th overall, the 2 leading AMs. Scott Mokes, 3rd of the AMs. He is back in 9th place as they come then now down towards the hairpin. We've barely had 5 minutes of the race elapsed, but a lot's happened.
Yeah, it certainly has. And again, action-packed for us here in this second race of the day. Look at Will Chadwick. I want to point him out. 11th place now in this race already after starting on the back row of the grid.
Yeah, Jack Sedgwick's progress has not been quite so good, has it? But yeah, really good effort by William Chadwick. And he'll be all fired up after, of course, leading before that failure in race 1. There he is. So 11th now ahead of Jacob Toffs. There's a bit of real estate to make up before he can get onto terms with the next car. Luke Bennett for 10th place, number 14. But William Chadwick goes through and looking for a much, much better result out of this than we had in race 1 for the driver with no team. Independent entries, William Chadwick, and he comes down to the scene of his demise of race 1. Looking rather dark, isn't it? Headlights working overtime as they head to the hairpin here. And
there was a bit of a drama in the background of that shot then. There was a piece of bodywork flying up into the air, so something's happened towards the back, and Dylan Platt's looking very slow on my timing, so yeah, something's happened to him out there on that lap. But yes, Will Chadwick, great recovery drive from him to move through the field, but now it gets more and more difficult the further up the field you go to try and make up those places, and he does seem to be very confident. Oh, Jacob Toffs just getting a wheel into that gravel. Not too bad, though.
No, he got away with that because of the nice low curb that was able to give him a little bit of traction before he reached the gravel. But you can see the way now that getting away from him is William Chadwick. Now up into 9th, Luke Bennett got ahead of Scott Mokes that time. Matt Emery, though, still leads the way. So Sebastian Job just settling. He's sitting on the shoulder of Matt Emery, isn't he, for the race lead. Matt knows he's there, so the pressure is constant. 18 minutes on the clock. There's the leader launching himself through the chicane. And what have we got further back? We've got cars all over the road, and there's the drama coming out of Clark. Is that why bodywork flew? Yes! That was a big, big hit.
Oh, that's a massive hit there. So Dylan Platt involved in that one, Adam Cox, and one of the WSR, the World Sim Racing cars involved. I think that would have been Eric Grove involved in that one as well. So 3 cars getting absolutely wiped out in one incident there. And again, it's, as you pointed out, it's a tight track here, and if somebody has issues, you come around that corner, suddenly, where do I go?
Absolutely right. And especially if you're in a battle, you don't want to sort of compromise yourself for fear that the other guy's going to get past you, but then suddenly you've got nowhere to go except into the wreckage. Now, Sebastian Job, can I offer you, is being caught by Luke McEwen. That gap's 2nd to 3rd. He's coming down, and Job gets sideways. Write it down. Job makes tiny error exclusive, because that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, get that on the back pages there. My goodness, now it's Luke McEwen's feeling really excited by that error, and he's looking all over Sebastian now. He's got to try, a little touch between the two of them, and that's Sebastian just stopping the car on the apex and slowing the other car down. It's a very, very good move to make at that hairpin, because it launches you away out of the hairpin compared to the rival behind.
What it is doing is allowing Matt Emery the chance to get away. So the race leader just building the gap ever so slightly, 0.8 of a second last time around. So Emery needs to try to escape here. Luke McEwen fighting Sebastian Job is manna from heaven for him, because it takes some of the pressure off. It allows him to drive his race, his lines, while Job goes defensive and takes the slower lines.
Tell you what, I think with the rate of attrition that we've been having here in this race, it's a little bit like a UFC cage match. It's just absolutely just people falling by the wayside. Jack Sedgwick is the latest one out of the race here. We've lost Nathan Tague. I know Tague's back out running, but he's been on pit road. Dylan Platt, Adam Cox, Thomas Cope, all out of the race. So there's been some big losses from this one, and yeah, the rate of attrition at this race has been particularly high for this series.
Yeah, it has, and it's just like the real world racing in a sense, where there's always drama at Knockhill. It's always spectacular racing, but look at the way that Matt Emery is still trying to build this race lead here over Sebastian Job and Luke McEwen, second and third, and McEwen has got the pace to stay with Sebastian Job. This is intriguing, isn't it? Job's not getting away, he's not shaking him off.
Well, you think back to qualifying, there was only, what, 37 thousandths of a second between them. So they're pretty much equal pace right here today at this one. And Sebastian, I think he will want to keep Luke behind in terms of the championship. But if Luke makes a lunge, I think it would be very wise of Sebastian to just say, oh, do you know what? If you want it that bad, you can go right on through. I'll sit behind you.
So down the hill they come then, with Graham Carroll still behind them in fourth place, but perversely not really being able to close at the moment, is he? So McEwen is the man to watch in third, and he looks one side and then the other to try to find a way past Job.
He's not happy here, is he? He wants by, and he wants by quick. Sebastian's having to go defensive line into the hairpin. He's squeezing McEwen, just leaving him a car's width, and again, he's going to park that car on the apex. He's going to force McEwen to be slow off corner exit. That's very smart defensive driving.
But you're right, Job could afford to let Luke McEwen go, because he's only going to lose 1 point in real terms in the championship, and of course he's already outscored him in race one, and he's got the 2 for pole position out of qualifying. So the danger here is that Job defends when he doesn't need to, really, because for the sake of the point, would it be safer to slip behind? Graham Carroll, fourth, looking that little bit nearer this time, so maybe this battle now is delaying Job and McEwen just enough to give Graham Carroll a shot at a podium. What do you think?
Well, Graham Carroll used to be a teammate of Sebastian's here. You know, is Sebastian helping him to get involved in this battle as well, to try and draw him into this one? I don't think that'll be in Sebastian's thinking, to be honest. I think it'll be just thinking one thing at one time, and that's getting one over Luke McEwen after what happened in race one. And right now, Luke, again, doesn't get that run out of the hairpin. I think that's where Luke struggles a little bit compared to Sebastian, but he makes up the time elsewhere.
Of course, the other problem you have in all of this is that Knockhill is not the widest of circuits. So these cars, these Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars, are big beasts. They're proper GT cars. There's not a huge amount of real estate to run side by side. You've got to really force the issue. Luke McEwen bangs on the wiper in error as he's all arms and elbows inside the cab, and now down towards the hairpin, but he's dropped back a length or two, so there's no chance of a move this time. What they are doing is catching Matt Emery.
Is that Luke trying something different? He's tried the same thing a few laps on the bounce and it's not worked, so trying something different, taking that wider line into the hairpin to get the launch out of it, to take you towards Duffer's Dip at the start of the lap. It's not worked this time, but you can't just keep on doing the same thing and expect a different result.
The gap is coming down as well, isn't it, between the top two? So Matt Emery is being caught little by little by Sebastian Job. It was down to 0.6 when they came across the line. It's crept up just a little bit coming out the other side of the chicane. But with 12.5 minutes to go, Matt Emery, with every passing lap, looks that little bit more confident up front. And remember that the best he's had in the championship all season is a 5th place. Never been on the notional podium, certainly never had a win. And right now he is making this look easy. He's doing a really impressive job.
And don't forget, that would be a Veloce double as well for the Veloce Vex team, with Graham Carroll getting the win in race 1. So I think the team would be delighted if Matt was able to get the win here. But that's easier said than done when you've got the level of drivers behind. But if they're too busy tripping over each other, that'll help things. And again, a mistake from Job, not quite getting the run through the chicane. And Luke McEwen is all over him now.
He is this time, isn't he? Because although on the last lap, with the wiper having been knocked on, he was a bit far back. Now he's right there. Job covers off the inside line to the outside line. Then goes McEwen. He's all up the curb. What he wants is wide in and tight out. But again, Job defends beautifully through the hairpin.
Yeah, and you're not going to get the move done that way, I don't think, Luke, because Job will just park that car on the apex, stop you getting the cutback on corner exit. And that just means that all you're going to end up doing is just giving him a bit of Morse code and be on your way again.
However, look what is happening behind Luke McEwen. That car of Graham Carroll is getting closer and closer and closer. Second and third together. It'll be second, third and fourth before much longer. And that lead gap, by the way, has now doubled. Having said that Job was closing because of having to defend from McEwen, it's 1.2 seconds last time over the line. Side by side again to the hairpin. Didn't work last time you tried it, Luke. Doesn't work this time either, does it? Carroll is closing and he's taking Pete Berryman with him.
Yeah, we've got a quartet here now. This is business is starting to pick up here, and McEwen's looking to the inside, trying to show his nose, but you're not alongside really to get the move done into Duffers Dip. You have to be fully alongside to make that move stick. So Luke just trying to get in the mind of Sebastian, trying to distract him. It's kind of working a little bit because Sebastian, we've been seeing these little micro mistakes coming in or not quite hitting his line right.
That lap was okay, but the margin between the top two, 1.3 seconds. So it's still advantage Emery. Now Berryman has suddenly dropped off the back of Carroll, hasn't he? Because that margin, they were together here a lap ago, now is much, much greater. So Graham Carroll, pressure released from him, is fourth on his own, and Berryman is a rather distant fifth. Over the line they come, coming down to Duffers Dip. This really is where Luke McEwen needs to have a full send on the inside line and try and do something different, as you suggest, Paul, but he's not close enough to try.
Yeah, it's just not happening for him, and that's been where Luke has been the weakest, I think, out of that hairpin. Aimed towards Duffers Dip has just not been his strong point compared to Sebastian. And yeah, this has been really intriguing to watch, just these two battle it out, duke it out. It's almost going to go to a judge's decision, this one.
Well, I think you're right about that run to Duffers Dip not being great, but it's all partly, isn't it, because of the way that Job defends here, because he slows right down, so it completely compromises the momentum of Luke McEwen coming off the corner. So he doesn't have the run coming down to Duffers Dip because he's still trying to sort of make up the momentum, gain the pace back again, and he doesn't have it. He's a car's length back yet again coming into Duffers Dip. Matt Emery, in the meantime, still leading by over a second. Job second, McEwen third, Carroll fourth. Luke McEwen looks like he might have the quicker car, but Sebastian Job's defensive racecraft is very impressive.
And we saw it from Graham Carroll in race 1. He didn't necessarily seem to have the quicker car compared to Pete Berryman, but again, that defensive drive really showed. In that bottom box, by the way, we've got Luke Pennington in 6th place, Luke Bennett in 7th, Leo Gariboli in 8th, and then Will Chadwick 9th place. That's 16 places gained so far today. And if Will will be confident and be wanting to make some moves as Luke Bennett makes moves on Luke Pennington.
Just thinking about Matt Emery, the race leader, and it's not been the best of seasons. He has, of course, been a regular in the championship, 11th and then 9th and then 3rd last year. So we know that he can do it. It's just been a tough season. And now he's kind of reminding people what he is capable of. And here he's maintaining this gap over Sebastian Job, who this lap is a little bit further ahead of Luke McEwen. This battle pack in the bottom screen remains as fierce as ever as Luke Pennington launches himself over the curb, and he's got them all stacked up behind him.
Yeah, it's 6 cars, all you could cover them with a sheet of paper almost. It's so close between them.
Emery paper, possibly.
Thank you very much. He's available for weddings and bar mitzvahs. Anyway, Chadwick into the side of Garibaldi. Contact between the two of them. Chadwick goes through, and Garibaldi is left stranded at the chicane.
And tumbles down the order as a result. So where's he going to be? 11th then over the timing line. Matt Emery is being caught. Having said the gap was over a second, it's down to 8/10. And this is because Job has managed to shake off McEwen and is therefore able to go after the race leader. He can now concentrate on his race, not just defending from the bloke behind. Leo Garibaldi with work to do, down in 11th place. And here are the race leaders. McEwen fighting back. Matt Emery's win, in quotes, rather depends really on McEwen. If Luke gets back up with Job and starts attacking him and Sebastian has to defend, Matt Emery can escape. And I think that's happening again here. 6.5 minutes then on the clock.
And they are catching up to a little bit of traffic as well.
Yeah.
It's Nathan Tegg and Adam Holloway who have had a day to forget, I do think, and they're working the way through. So I don't know if they'll quite catch them by the end of the race. They're a little bit further down the road, but look at the line that these drivers take through that chicane. It is just absolutely launching it at one curb. And the thing is, when you sat in the car, you can't see that second curb on the right-hand side. You're right over a rise there. It's a fantastic place to watch if you've never been there. Do go to the chicane.
Out of the hairpin, up the steep climb, timing hut on the left. That's where the timing line is now. Pit in. There's one car going for the pit. Was that Jacob Toft, conceivably? Leaders go through. Nathan Tegg after his travails, right. So that's probably Nathan out of the race. The leaders go through with now, what have we got? 1.2 seconds covering the top three. It's all concertina once more, and 5.5 minutes are on the clock. Sebastian Job, all of a sudden, is looking a bit more menacing, isn't he? Because, look, he's turned up the wick, and he's right back with Matt Emery.
And you look at how they've been able to drop Graham Carroll as well through all of this. So he's obviously had some trials and tribulations out there in this second race, but still in 4th place. Good for him. But yeah, Matt Emery now, I think he's starting to look in his mirrors a little bit and thinking, it's 5 minutes remaining in this one. I'm in the lead, but I've got both championship leaders right behind me.
Well, can he hang on in there? 5 minutes. That's still quite a lot of laps around Knockhill. And it's not just that he's got to fend off 2 cars behind. He's got to fend off the benchmark driver in this championship, Sebastian Job, and another quick driver in Luke McEwen. So he's got 2 of the star names there right up behind him, and you can see they're getting closer and closer and closer.
They seem to get that run through the chicane better, but look at that. McEwen was right up to the back of Sebastian then through Clark's, and just has to drop back a little bit because of that. Got caught up behind Sebastian, and that's compromised him. But now, with what, about 6 laps or so remaining in this race, I think if you're going to make a move for the lead, you're going to have to make it soon.
Well, again, Job having to go defensive, isn't he? So he's got McEwen right up behind him. Out of Duffer's Dip they come, drop downhill, and the margin 0.8 of a second when they went over the line. So as soon as Job has to defend, then that releases Matt Emery. If Job's able to get away from McEwen, he then gets stuck behind Emery. McEwen closes up, and the battle is on for second place once more. But really, Luke McEwen needs to make the move, start here, but get to the outside of Sebastian Job's car. But Job covers the line. Where Job is, that's where McEwen has to be to try and make this move work at the hairpin, because Job normally is able to defend. He went a bit deep there, but gets across in time to get to the apex.
Yeah, you're not going to fool Sebastian with that move there, no. Luke, trying to get the dummy, because he's just going to keep it absolutely against that white line on the inside of that corner. And again, Emery is going, go on, Luke, you keep on making those moves, son. I'll be thanking you with a pint of beer afterwards with that one. Yeah, Emery, he wants these two to be fighting. He wants the race win, but these two right now, there's championship points at stake. And again, if Sebastian sees Luke making a desperate move, let Luke past. It's not worth losing out when you're going to be overall gaining points in the week. That said, the flip side of the coin is that it is sort of worth Job keeping him at bay.
because if Job in turn can force a mistake out of Matt Emery, suddenly he's got the win rather than Luke McEwen inheriting a race win, if you see what I mean. So, you know, he wants to stay ahead if he can, because when he is able to, and it's happening now, look, catch up a little bit to Matt Emery, he shakes off McEwen. If he can apply the pressure and inherit the race lead, then it's certainly worth trying. But yeah, it's a tough race again, this, for Sebastian Job. And what's impressive about him is how he's able to instantly adopt the correct mindset. You know, whether he's having to attack or defend or recover, as we saw in race 1, he's able to think about the best option for the championship, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's where that maturity of him has really come through. I mean, look at him. He wasn't even defending there. He didn't feel the pressure from Luke McEwen, so he just had to focus forward. And again, lap traffic getting out the way, going through the pit lane. How fortunate are these 3 drivers that the lap traffic have all just bowed over and said, after you, chaps.
Eric Grove, I think, getting out of the way. Right, the leaders go through. Now we're going to have one more lap after this, provisionally. Here they come up towards the chicane. Lead gap hovering around 0.4 of a second now. Matt Emery has done a really good job. Bear in mind, he's led since the lights went out. Is he going to be denied within the last couple of laps? Sebastian Job hopes so, and he's the man that wants to take that lead off him, and he's further ahead of McEwen now.
Yeah, McEwen made a slight mistake at the chicane. That allowed Job to just pull away. But again, McEwen just rocketing up to the back of Sebastian's car into the hairpin. And we're going to get 2 more laps again. We're going to go that 32 laps again, David.
So they managed to squeeze, as you say, 2 more out of the race. That's bad news for Matt Emery. It's sort of double the pressure for him. Job is there in 2nd place. Luke McEwen 3rd, and not quite able to get close enough. Gary Bowley into the top 10, recovering after his dramas. Interesting, isn't it, the way that Luke Pennington has been able to get away from Crofton Woodhatch, who has been affected rather by recovering pro-class cars jumping ahead of him. So having been up with Pennington early on, it's quite a big gap relative between the two. Now, has McEwen come back at Job? The answer is yes, he has. So as they come through to start the last lap, Luke McEwen's having another, probably final, push at 2nd place.
It's going to have to be an act of desperation, I think, now for Luke, because Sebastian has had his card all this second race. He's been able to hold him back. There is the white flag. No, it's not a slow car. It's the last lap of the race. And, well, these 3, they've given us a great race, but especially these 2 for 2nd. It's been thrilling to watch these 2 duel.
And it's been really impressive that Matt Emery has been able to hang on in there. Does he hang on in there through the chicane? He goes a little bit wide, and that brings Sebastian Job even closer to him as they come into Clark's. Matt Emery has done such a good job. Don't waste it now, Matt. Sebastian Job is closer. Down they come towards the hairpin. Luke McEwen is in 3rd place. Sebastian Job is close, but I don't think he's going to be able to have a proper go because it's Emery that covers off the inside line. Checkered flag awaits and honours in the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup GP at Knockhill. Race 12 of the year go to Matt Emery after a fantastic drive. He wins from Sebastian Job in 2nd place, Luke McEwen 3rd. Race 1 winner Graham Carroll is going to be 4th. So it is indeed the double for the Veloci team. 5th over the line, Pete Berryman. 6th, Will Chadwick to the back of the grid. Mega drive that. 7th to win in Am. Luke Pennington, Jacob Tofts, Luke Bennett, and Leo Garibaldi rounds out the top 10.
What a drive. Matt Emery to lead every lap of the race under some serious pressure from behind with Sebastian Job and Luke McEwen. It is, I know we're not seeing it on screen, but a little tip of the hat to him. That was sensational stuff there. But Will Chadwick around here to gain 19 places in the end. That is a recovery drive and a half.
That was a Harry King style drive. I can remember Harry King in 2020 being way back on the grid for race 2 after retiring in race 1, and he came through to win outright. That was a Harry King-esque race. Matt Emery then the race winner from Sebastian Job and Luke McEwen. 3rd, 4th Graham Carroll from Pete Berryman, Will Chadwick and Luke Pennington. 7th to win in Am, Jacob Tofts. 8th, Luke Bennett. 9th, Leo Garibaldi. 10th, and Luke McEwen able to do the fastest lap of the race as well. So as he did in the first, going quickest of anybody in the second. After the top 10, 11th across the line, Crofton Woodhatch ahead of Scott Mokes and then Dan Sedgley. Jamie Moon, 14th. Better, again, because he was at the back of the grid. Gareth Higgins, 15th, ahead of Daniel Cofield, then James Parker, Dan Martin, Oliver Ettridge, and Adam Holloway round out the top 20. 21st, Nathan Tagle, I think we saw him retire to the pit lane, didn't we? Because he was 3 laps down. We lost Eric Grove as well. We lost Jack Sedgwick. We lost Dylan Platt, Adam Cox, and Thomas Cope in his error coming out of Duffer's Dip. So it all got a bit leery for some, but Matt Emery richly deserved that win. That was very, very impressive indeed, because he had Sebastian Jobe applying the pressure all the way through. Matt Emery and Graham Carroll then are 2 race winners of the day. Great day for the Veloci team, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't ask for better, really, to get 2 race wins here. One from the hometown, well, I say hometown, home track driver of Graham Carroll, and Matt Emery, after having a very trying and difficult season so far, to come through and to get that win today, absolutely great.
Well, it's probably time we had a word with either or both, because Graham Carroll and Matt Emery can join us. Paul, they're all yours.
Well, we'll start with you, Graham. Race 1, I mean, talk us through that one, because you were under some serious pressure from Pete Berryman behind.
Hey guys, yeah, listen, it's a confidence track, and I think when you're behind and you're trying to catch a guy in front, where I'm not trying to do that, I was just trying to hold the lead and keep it on the back stuff. It's you can push a bit harder when you're behind someone, but yeah, I was just sort of really panicking through the chicane every lap. A tiny little mistake, Pete would have got me. His race pace seemed really strong, but I know if you just get the right lines right here and get the exit out the final corner, like, it's going to be a battle to the last lap. So I know with my home track, I was going to give it everything, and luckily, I think Seb and Luke had a little. I really don't know what happened to turn 3, but it was perfect. And then, yeah, I think Will Chadwick had a wheelbase problem, so yeah, it all just landed perfectly for me. So yeah, mega stuff.
And that's it. You've got to take those opportunities when they come to you, especially at a track where, if you know how to defend around here, it's very difficult to overtake.
Yeah, it is. I've done a lot of. I grew up at this circuit sort of when I was a young lad, so it's I've done a lot of laps around here, leading and trying to get by guys. So it's it is one of these circuits indeed. But yeah, just glad to get that chicane out of the way, and another big congrats to Matt as well, getting his first sort of podium and win of the season. So mega for Veloci.
And that's where we will move on to here is Matt Emery, because Matt, I mean, I think it's fair to say that it's been a little bit of a testing season this season, hasn't it, for you? But what a way to turn that around here today.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have asked for it to go any better. I was not expecting to be fighting for the win, especially after qualifying as well. But no, I mean, as soon as I was on pole, I locked in, and some of the best laps I've driven, to be honest. And it's finally nice to get a win after 4 seasons being in a championship, and finishing 3rd last year and still not picking up a win. It came pretty unexpectedly, but I'm very happy to finally get the win.
And you deserved the win as well. But I mean, just how much pressure were you feeling? Because you not only had Sebastian Jobe, who's 2-time champion here in this series, but also somebody who seems to be a benchmark in this car, but also Luke McEwen, who's trying to battle with him. Was that in your mind that every time Luke made those moves, you were able to pull away?
Yeah, I was monitoring the gap. I was trying not to look at my mirrors as much as possible, but I was checking every so often. No, pace seemed pretty good. I think first half of the race I was able to keep them at bay, and then second half the tyre wear started to kick in, and Seb's amazingly good on his tyres. So I knew it was going to get harder and harder. But yeah, thankfully, I mean, I managed to hold it together. I think, one mistake at the chicane, 5 and 6, and they're going to be all over you. So you have to get it right every single lap. And in practice, I was messing it up a lot. So I'm happy I managed to keep it together in a race.
And well, we'll bring it back to you, Graham, as well, because you're involved in the championship battle with Peter Berryman here. You came into this round just 1 point behind him. You should surely be ahead of him now after this one, but it's going to be difficult for the final 2 rounds at Donington and Brands Hatch.
Yep, that's the aim. Me and Peter are basically tied on points. He was ahead by 1 point coming in here, so I think I would finished ahead in both races, so that was really the aim for today. I actually caught, I'm not too sure who the spinning car was at turn 1, turn 2, at the start of the race, but I had damage for that whole sort of race there at the end, so I was hanging on for my life, but again, outscored Pete, and that was the main aim, so on to Donington, and hopefully we can repeat that performance.
Well, Graham, congratulations on the win in race 1, and Matt, congratulations on your first win in the championship.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you.
And we'll move straight away to the driver who had his best result of the season in race number 1, Thomas Koop. Didn't go too well in the race number 2, but Thomas, we'll look at the positives. Race 1, I mean, how was that for you there today?
Yeah, it's so overwhelming. I mean, like I said, best result I've had so far this season. Best result I've had in Porsche Cup GP and the car in general. So just being able to mix it up with all these guys on track and really put a good result on the board is it's good for the confidence heading into the future of racing.
And how is it, do you find, racing against these top drivers of Sebastian Job, Luke McEwen, Graham Carroll? Are you sort of picking up things from watching what they do for you to then try and put into your driving as well?
Yeah, every race day we go, and I'm always watching what they do, watching back results and learning everything. I mean, they've got 10 plus years probably in the Porsche Cup car on this service. I've only been here for 3.5 years, so I'm still learning everything. I'm still trying to catch up and sort of make my mark. And the race 1, definitely I made a bit of a mark, and race 2 maybe not so much, but yeah. I mean, season 2, I think it was my first season in Carrera Cup GB. I had a good result here in Knockhill for both races, both top 10s. So I was really looking forward to this weekend for hopefully a good result. And I got it in race 1, but was unlucky in race 2, obviously.
Well, Graham Carroll certainly made a mark on your car in race 2 after he clipped you coming through. I mean, just quickly touch on that incident. I mean, you're side by side with Sebastian Job going into Duffer's Dip.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I left the space. I looked back afterwards. I still think I left the space. I'll leave it to the steward, but I'm sorry for anyone that I collected, aka Graham Carroll. But yeah, it was a good race leading up to that point, and I was just going to try and ride around and try and solidify a good result. And if Seb would have been able to hold that and we'd gone down the corner, it would have been, I'd let him go. But yeah, just unfortunate that I got clipped and then spun back into the middle of the track in the end.
Well, anyway, it's congratulations, best result in the series in race 1. Thomas Koop, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, David, you know, there's been a lot of people wanting to come to speak to us, but it's great to hear from not just the usual suspects of Sebastian Job and Luke McEwen, to hear from others who've had good days. And Thomas Koop, you can hear just what a boon that is to get such a good positive result, even if it was just for race 1.
Absolutely, it gives that confidence, doesn't it? And Matt Emery the same. I mean, he's made the point that after all these seasons of trying, he's finally had that first win. And people say getting the first win is the hard one. The second one is much easier because then you know you can do it. And the second win seems to come a lot more readily. But yeah, it's been another fascinating day. It's been very useful points, of course, for the likes of Luke Pennington and Sebastian Job within the championship for class wins and for class pole positions. There's only 4 more races, though, to go, which in a sense is now a real shame because it's been a really good season. But sadly, in a way, it is coming to an end. The next stop for Carrera Cup GB Esports will be Donington. The Grand Prix circuit, though, this time around, we'll be there on April the 14th. The championship will finish at Brands Hatch, and we'll see whether we get another new name at the top of the winners' lists or whether Sebastian Job can continue with what has been a remarkable season. 2 o'clock UK time, 14th of April, will be then rounds 13 and 14 of the Porsche Rafa Racing Club Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain from Donington Park. And we look forward to your company then. From Paul Smith, from David Addison here, north of the border at Knockhill, thanks for your company this afternoon. It's goodbye.